at all. All right, y'all. Today we're gonna take a look at this video from CNBC. Normally I will say to go follow some channels that we watch, some other creators, but this is a big media company, so forget them. How much money do Americans need to be comfortable? We all know how inflation has been blowing up here, and it is really making things difficult for a large portion of Americans in this country. Let's dive into the video. Let's see what they have to say about this, and let's talk about it. Don't forget, if you're here watching it, you can watch this live with me on my live streams right here on my YouTube channel. So subscribe to the channel and join us live, all right?
The average American says they need to earn $233,000 a year to be financially comfortable. But in 2021, American workers on average made only $75,203.
That's a big gap.
Americans are sort of looking at how much money they would like to have to be financially secure, and that ends up being basically 3 times what the average income is in this country. And to be essentially wealthy or really successful, it's magnitudes above that.
72% of Americans said they weren't financially secure given their current finances. And more than a quarter of Americans said they'll likely never be financially secure.
By the numbers, their debt is lower and their savings are higher coming out of the pandemic, but they're more anxious about what's going to happen next, if they have job stability, if they're going to be able to have secure retirement.
With well over half of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, many are failing to meet some of their modest financial goals.
That's a real problem, y'all. Over half of Americans in here are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, totally up to you, all right? But just from those of you that are watching on Instagram, Kick, YouTube, you don't have to disclose this. I get it. It's a personal thing. But if you choose to, how many of y'all are living paycheck to paycheck? You know what I mean? Because it's getting out of hand how inflated things are here in the U.S. with everything. When you look at how much we're spending on foreign conflicts that we're not even really involved in, when we look at the amount of illegal immigration that's coming in here that we're footing the bill for, it is like our pockets as a nation are running dry, man. And it's breaking the middle income families the most, and middle income folks, you know, middle America. It's getting extremely bad. I saw something to the effect, you know, people talk about 100K minimum and all this stuff. I saw something recently, and I can't quite remember the number, but where it used to be making 70K would put you in the middle, what's it called? In, you know, the middle bracket or whatever. When you account for inflation, it's more like 150 plus, 170K a year. It was something more, a little further into the into the 6-figure count. Is the equivalent now with inflation. So if that's the case, if you're making 70K now, it ain't like what 70K used to be because of inflation and how bad it's getting out here. My rent has, no joke, doubled in the last 5 years. And that's one of the biggest issues in our country, is the cost of housing and rentals, especially when you have the big those big firms, investment firms and all that stuff that are buying up rental properties and then skyrocketing the prices. You know, people are living in a 2-bedroom for like $3K or $2,500, and you know, you're talking about small 2-bedrooms. It is really bad.
There are actually millions of people struggling. It's not something that people want to talk about, but if you're in a place where your financial security feels super precarious, you're not alone. And it's not your fault.
So how did it become so difficult to be financially secure in America? And what can you do about it?
And the other thing too is, remember that jobs aren't like what they used to be. It used to be like in my mom's day and my grandmother's time period, that they could work one job and spend 20, 30 years there, get their pension, have security, and they would, you know, they would work that one career their entire life. And then they were done. A lot of the boomers, in fact, right? But for millennials and everyone forward, millennial Zers and the Gen Ayers now, which are the children coming up, it's not going to be like that for us. Now people change careers every few years, 10 years or so. Like, you know, you're graduating with a degree in one field. You're not even doing that field in most times. You got the degree in biology, but you're doing sales, or, you know what I mean? Like, we're in a totally different place now where it is more fluid in the career force. You're not spending 20, 30 years at one place by and large. It's not trending that way anymore. You know, more and more times people are jumping from careers to careers, job to job every couple, 2 to 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. So it makes it a bit more scary for most people because you don't know if the company's going to let you go. I mean, we've seen how big in the tech sector, especially if you guys following all of that stuff, how big it's been with the layoffs over the last months, year. All of these tech companies have been shedding people, 10% layoffs here, 8% layoffs there. Sounds small in numbers, but we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people, especially in some of these huge companies like Google, and Microsoft, and so on and so forth. 5% of people is a pretty big number of people, considering they employ thousands and thousands of people. So we don't have the level of job security that our parents or their parents had. And it makes things very scary for a lot of people. It makes things, you know, very nerve-wracking for people to know whether or not you're going to be here for the long haul, or are you going to get that call one day, or are you going to decide you don't want to do this any longer, and then where are you going to go next? It's very stressful.
Let's do some budgeting. Americans working full-time earned a median monthly income of about $4,400 during the second quarter of 2023. The average worker takes home 75.2% of gross wages after taxes and benefits, shrinking the take-home pay to about $3,300.
Good old taxes.
And that just isn't enough to cover the cost of living in America today.
The cost of healthcare, that has skyrocketed. The cost of attending college has skyrocketed.
College is a scam. I'm gonna tell you, college is a scam. You should not have to pay all this money to go to college. It is ridiculous how we treat college here in America. When there's an inherent benefit to society when people are educated, to gatekeep it with the level of expense that it's at now. It's one thing to charge something. I get it. You got people who got to work and got to eat there that are professors and staff, 100%. But we're talking about the level of per year for school, $30K a year. Damn near a salary for some people is absurd, man. It is absurd, especially when you look at these schools have hundreds, if not thousands of students. The math just isn't mathing, man. Like, shit got to change. The pricing on schools is out of control. I can't even in good faith tell my kid it's worth going to college. And we talk about it quite a bit now. Like, I don't think it's worth it, to be honest with you.
The cost of purchasing a home has skyrocketed, but nowhere has anyone said wage growth is up 15%, right?
Take a look at some of the most essential expenses for Americans. The median monthly rent in the US is $2,029 as of June 2023. That amount already accounts for over 46% of the Americans' median pre-tax income.
There goes
Most
almost half of your money.
agencies classify spending more than 30% of one's gross monthly income on rent as being rent-burdened. Meanwhile, the median mortgage payment for a 2,400 square foot house was $1,957 per month. However, a common rule of thumb advises spending 28% or less of your pre-tax income on mortgage payments. For the median gross monthly earnings, that translates to just $1,232.
As we talk to households and talk to consumers out in the real world, especially those, say, under 40, housing is the big issue. You know, rent, mortgage. It is the biggest concern that people aren't going to be able to make the next payment.
Inflation is really hurting individuals having stability in their housing. And I think sometimes we underestimate that if you have uncertainty in your housing, it causes uncertainty everywhere.
Housing is also the reason why cities have become more difficult to afford. Americans said it would require more than $1 million in net worth to be financially comfortable in places like San Francisco, New York, and Southern California.
I mean, come on, man. We're talking about three of the largest cities. San Francisco is the tech capital. That place is so inflated on pricing because generally the people that are living there are making more money because it's the heart of all the tech industry. So that, to me, that's already an outlier. I don't look at that. New York is New York, though. New York is different, in that it is New York, and everyone wants to be in New York. Everyone wants to be in Manhattan and all that stuff. But I can never do it. It's way too busy for me. And, you know, shout out to my New York homies and all that. But, like, you know, New York's dirty. I'm just going to keep it about, it's dirty. You get out there and it's dirty. And then, you know, Cali, you're paying for the weather. But I can never. I used to live in San Diego, right, years ago. But outside of the weather, one, you're dealing with too many other environmental issues out there. Drought, you've got landslides, you've got earthquakes. They pretty much get everything except for tornadoes in Cali. And then when you add in the fact that they have droughts and stuff, and that they have a super far left liberal leaning politics, which are taxing everyone to death, which blows my mind. I don't understand, as a Democrat, why would I further vote for Democratic officials that are going to tax me more? I don't understand that concept, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that. I think we end up shooting ourselves in the foot. It happened here in Chicago, as a matter of fact. Perfect example here in Chicago, right? Which is our prior mayor, Lori Lightfoot, aka the Turtle, was very much saying, we're a sanctuary city. We're a sanctuary city, right? Nobody in Chicago, or the voter base, especially the black voter base, said anything about this when she was saying how we are a sanctuary city. Then guess what happens? The governor in Texas, whoever the current one is, I don't know if it's Abbott or whoever the current governor is down there, decides to send the illegals that are coming into the Texas border straight up to the sanctuary cities in the U.S. because they said they're sanctuary cities. Now what happened was we started getting buses of illegals from Venezuela, mostly over that are here now. And the city has put them into what used to be former grammar schools in the South Side, which have been closed down, which the communities were pissed off about in the first place. Like, why are you closing down schools in our neighborhoods that would need them, that they've been vacated for a period of time? And now they've shoved these illegals in there, and the illegals are getting stipends per month so they can live off of the taxpayer dollars. Guess who was livid? There were viral videos of black Chicagoans going in on the politicians about, I'm gonna keep it a buck here, they don't want no illegals here. I'm putting it nicely, because what it was they didn't want no Hispanics around. I'm not taking issue with that, but what I do say to folks is your vote matters. All the people here in Chicago that was voting Democratic for all these Democratic, very progressive Democratic politicians, guess what? This is a result of your vote. You voted these motherfucking clowns in, and now they're putting illegals ahead of our own people in the city that need the resources, that need the schools that they closed down, but now they're shoving the illegals in there, giving them your taxpayer dollars so they can thrive. Meanwhile, our own homeless that are here in the hoods, in the streets of Chicago, and the children that need education, now you got to ship them off somewhere else because your neighborhood schools closed down. They are not getting the shit that they need. And Chicagoans are furious, especially black Chicagoans. They are pissed about how this all played out. And I don't blame them. I don't think we should be footing the bill for any of that shit. Like right now, what's happening, I'm getting off on a tangent here. I apologize, because this is about the housing and how much money, but it all ties in together. You know what I mean? It all ties in together. And Joe Biden allowing all these illegals to come in here, I promise you, it is nothing but, I firmly believe, a political plan, because when you bring the illegals in here and and you help them out, what's going to happen is you're ultimately buying their political allegiance. They're going to remember Joe Biden helped me very much. And now when they're able to vote, because you allow them to vote somehow, they're going to vote Democrat. It's a fucking political move. Anyway, let's get back into the video. I know I went off on a thing. Yo, John, what's up, man? Murky, what's up? The whole system needs to change. Oh, bro, you don't even know. Some days I really believe and feel as though a complete flip of the whole system. Like, we need a reset, America. There needs to be like a button that we hit that resets every goddamn thing. Everyone goes back to their figurative corners and we start from scratch. First thing we're going to address is the stupid tax laws. We're going to simplify that shit, make it one thing, and that is it. And whatever money is generated from a flat tax, whatever, the government got to figure it out. Instead of keep on raising it on our backs, figure it out. Because the government is so wasteful with money. It is ridiculous. Some things really should be privatized and let private companies run it because they are more efficient. They are going to streamline the process because they want to maximize revenue. We should offload certain things that are regulated by the government. They have complete oversight, but pass it off because they're way more efficient. We don't need all these government workers that are collecting pensions that are not doing their job in an efficient manner because, motherfuckers get in the government job and they get comfortable. And I'm sorry if you're watching this and you're a government worker, but you know what it is. Keep it a buck. Just look at the post office. They're chilling. They're on cruise control. They're not in a hurry to get you your stamps, bro. You go in there, you're fucking taking forever to get some.
Why we've seen some migration or mobility around the country where some people say, I'm living in a high cost state like California or New York.
Yeah.
We really want to sort of pack up and go to an area that's less expensive. And one of the ironies of that is those places that were cheaper before are now becoming more expensive.
Because everyone's following each other. A prime example is Austin, Texas. Austin for a long time was super chill, was a low key spot. But now Austin, Texas is the tech valley of the South. All of the people from Tech Valley, Silicon Valley, and all of that were up in Cali and all of that started to move out of there and go to Austin. Now they've all flooded over there. And that's a big reason why Texas is on the verge of flipping politically from typically a Republican state to potentially being possibly a Democratic voting state with the amount of people that are coming over from Cali and some of these other Western regions. They bringing in their political views as well. And it's going to shift and it's going to create a very big identity clash in Texas. From old true Texans to the migrating ones that now live here and are very blue, progressive.
Americans spend on average $690.75 on food every month, according to the latest data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That amount is significantly higher than any of USDA's estimated grocery bills, including more generous and liberal food plans.
I think a lot of people are spending money on ordering out, though. That's a big problem. Not enough people are spending time cooking their own shit, and you pay for it. Until I got into my current state of clean eating, which I've been on now since like June of last year, I'm definitely much lower on my food bill. Oh my God. And I stopped ordering out. I might order once a month out from like DoorDash. Before it used to be like regularly. It was bad. And you're eating junk food. The quality of food that you eat is better when you cook it yourself, and you're going to save more money because you could buy produce. You could freeze stuff. If you just make the time to do like food prep, buy stuff at good prices, fresh foods, you're going to eat better. You're going to feel better. You will cut your food spending per month down. I would highly encourage you all that are watching this to make an effort to stop eating out. Not saying altogether, but if you're eating out, dining out, ordering out 4 days, 5 days out the week, bro, you can save so much money by just doing it once a week. Treat yourself on a Sunday or a Saturday night. The rest of the week, prep some stuff. If you don't know how to cook, learn to cook, man. I promise you will save money. If you are struggling with bread right now, you can really have some leftover money by putting in the effort on your groceries and cooking for yourself and limiting how much you eat out. I swear to God.
At the out-of-pocket health expenditures
tastes way better
cost
too.
The average
Absolutely.
Americans $96.42 every month, and you get a total expense of $2,816.17 for renters, and $2,744.17 for homeowners. That amount already accounts for 85% of the median take-home pay for average American.
That's 85% of your check is gone out of the bank. Now we see how people are out here really living it. It's tough. It's fucking tough.
Renters, and over 82% for an average homeowner. This is excluding other essential expenses like transportation, childcare, and debt payments.
Car insurance, car notes. You feel me? That's not even the rest of the essential costs per month that we all have to take care of. If you have a homeowner, you got maintenance costs on the home. Stuff's going to break. You know what I mean? Like, we can go on and on.
Americans are really struggling with just the increase of costs of living and food and housing. Utility bills have gone up. Car insurance has gone up. Homeowners insurance has gone up.
Yep.
And how can they pay for them, but also meet other goals that they have to?
Budgeting experts advise Americans to spend just 50% of their net income on essentials, 30% on wants, and 20% on savings or paying off debt.
We see that allocation shifting significantly where people are spending 75% of their take home just on needs, which leaves very little for wants and very little for saving for your financial future.
And that is a fast way to suffering from depression, being really down because you can't even treat yourself to doing something that you would enjoy. Whether it's taking a little trip somewhere, it don't got to be somewhere exotic, just getting out. Even a staycation makes you feel a little bit better. Getting away, change the scenery up here and there, going to do an activity you really like. People don't even have the extra bread to do stuff like that. And they're stuck in this game loop, and it wears you out, man. And that's the sad part about all of this. Hey, question for you. I know it's a bit, are you still in the Marines? No, I've been on the Marine Corps since 2005. Hunting, fishing helps lower my food spending. Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. It really doesn't. Let me explain why. Because I fish. In fact, I just pulled out. I went fishing last week. I killed the crappie and perch. I got all kinds of. I froze the fillets up. But that day I spent, let's see, 20 to launch. I spent probably another 20 in bait. Like, let's just say I sit at $50 to go out and fish that day. If I were to divide it up, if I were to really do the math, that means each packet of frozen fish that I filleted up. Let's see, I caught 15 perch that I kept. I caught 200 plus that day, but I kept 15 of the bigger ones. I kept 21 crappie that were about 10 to 12 inch, beautiful fillets. So, you know, if I were to do the math on that and you find out like a price per, yeah, I don't, you know, it's not always like that. I do a lot of salmon fishing. If I were to do the math on how much it costs for me to go out to go catch a salmon, it's actually cheaper to go buy it from the grocery store, to be honest with you. By the time you buy lures, the gear, the gas to go travel up there, the launch fees, it actually isn't like cost effective. But you probably are going to eat better quality because you're catching it fresh or you're hunting it fresh like a deer or a turkey or something like that. Probably that would be like the healthier thing, perhaps, maybe, you know?
So depending upon where you live and of course your income, many Americans really cannot meet that target allocation.
So much of managing your financial life in America today is like drinking from a fire hose. I think many households are not able to show up and impose a framework of their own design onto their finances. Many are still in this reactionary space where they're just trying to figure out how to make ends meet.
The Federal Reserve has implemented 11 interest rate hikes to combat inflation since March 2022. But more than a third of Americans said rising interest rates kept them from financial comfort.
Higher interest rates really can stand in the way of affordability for many financial activities or decisions that people want to engage in, and home purchases is sort of at the top of that list.
Look at the person who was going to buy a house that was, let's say, $375,000 2 years ago. Their monthly payment would have been less than $2,000. Now it's about $3,400. And it's the same house.
That's
right?
crazy.
The only thing that has changed is the interest rate.
Purchasing a car is more expensive. It's more expensive to maintain a balance on a credit card with the new offers for a credit card, even for the best qualified individual, being at 20.5%, and other people are paying closer to 30%.
The cost of capital is going up very rapidly, and many of the kind of toeholds we saw for lower income households was because they were having access to credit and to home loans and to other things in a relatively flat economy where they still had a good job market. The ability to access credit, both for small businesses and for households, is getting much harder as the financial system becomes more risk averse in that space.
Credit is essential because Americans don't have the savings to cover big expenses. More than 40% of Americans blamed insufficient retirement funds or emergency savings as the reason for financial insecurity.
For a lot of people, just to feel subjectively feel financially better, they need some amount of savings. A lot of financial planners will say 3 months of your income. That's, for many people, so overwhelming that they can't even begin to think about it.
More than half of Americans today said they didn't have at least 3 months of emergency expenses saved, including 22% that said they had no emergency savings at all.
That's pretty scary, man. That's pretty scary. And when you look at the rising costs of homes and cars, the car market right now is so screwed, man. They've even said, like, don't even try and buy a new car right now. It's out of control. You better find something used or something, or learn to ride a bike. But it makes me wonder if at some point we're just going to bottom out. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to get to a point where they keep raising prices. No one's going to buy nothing. And then what happens? We're going to like stall out, you know. Maybe a crash of some sort that resets this whole thing is what we need. I really don't know what other things I can think about here, you know? So Heeb, what's up, bro? Thank you. You know, something has to change. We can't keep going up this hill without there's got to be a point in which we hit the top of this hill and we just roll down and crash and burn. I really don't know how else is going to play out here. What do you guys think?
It doesn't take unemployment to really knock somebody out of whack with respect to their personal finances if they're among the many Americans who say they cannot afford a $1,000 emergency expense and to pay that from their savings.
The reality is, if expenses are routinely higher than your income, you are not going to be able to put away meaningful sums. There are many, many households who do the verb of saving. You see money go into their account all the time. It just doesn't stay there because they are routinely hit with a need to grab that little bit of money and use it for some kind of income shock or unexpected expense or even expected expense.
36% of Americans said they had more credit card debt than emergency savings.
It's not good.
According to Experian, an average American holds a debt balance of $96,371.
That's crazy. You know, my debt right now is $500 is what I got is all the debt I got right now on a card, on one credit card. That's it. That blows my mind to think if I had $96K that I owed someone, bro. It just blows my mind.
Which includes several loan products like credit cards, auto loans, and mortgages. More than a quarter of Americans said debt was what kept them from financial security.
Debt is a way of channeling some of our financial resources, and that can be a very effective tool. Many of us are fans of credit cards that have rewards, for example, but if you're not paying that principal or debt off within the billing cycle, that's when those double-digit percentage interest rates hit, and that can then exact a toll on the other aspects of your personal finances.
Yo, here's the problem that I have with credit cards is that they try to lure you in with those points spends, you know, whatever you spend it on, you get points, and and then people will do that. And yeah, let's say you were able to make the payment within that cycle so that you don't get hit with any kind of crazy interest rate or anything like that. The thing about it though is if you keep doing that, you're on a roll, you're able to do it, but then inevitably life hits you in the face, something comes up, you're not able to make those payments, you fall, you know, it's been 2 or 3 months because you're dealing with some major issue, home or personal life, health, has diverted you from being able to do that. And now that thing has built up and now it just builds, it's compiling on itself. And now you fall behind, you know what I mean? That's what I don't like about it. I don't use my car. I know I got people that use their car all the time and they'll make their monthly, but I'm just always weary of something happening to me that then I got to divert all my funds to that. And then the credit card is building up behind me, you know, cause I can't put some on it or, you know what I mean? I'm just way more cautious in that regard. And, you know, like, I'm just grateful that I had a grant for college. Cause you know, some of y'all that have college debts, school debt is in the debt amount is absolutely astronomical, man. And man, I'm just very fortunate because when it comes to you know, credit card debt, that's like under $500 is what I got. Like it's like 300 something right now, and that's only because I try to put something on it at some point every now and again just so it stays active. But I try to do shit straight up.
How do we properly address this so that people cannot be in this?
Buying a house and seeing half a mil owed is still scary too. Yeah, no, I get it, right? But I think it's different with a house because you know that like there's equity in it. It's different. What I was talking about was strictly credit card debt. You know, I'm not talking about like car notes or car loan or home loan. Those are inevitably, or even rent, because those are going to be stuck with you for life. I made peace with that and being like, you're always going to have some kind of a home/rent thing and car to some extent, unless you pay your stuff off. But to me, those are just inherent. You're going to have those in life. But what you can control is your credit card, because you don't always have to use that shit. And a lot of people use it way too freely and get themselves jammed up. That's what I'm speaking about more specifically. You know what I mean? A firm has expanded so much. Nowadays, you don't even have to have a credit card on you. A firm literally has digital cards. That is awful. It is. Although I do have stock in a firm. Sadly, it went down since when I bought it. But I like what they do. But I do agree. What's the topic today? You're watching a video on how much money do Americans need to be comfortable.
Cycle of just focusing on paying debt and necessities, but can even think about transitioning to that other 20% and creating an emergency savings, which causes financial stability, or even saving for retirement, which is the goal of creating future financial stability in retirement.
The fact that many Americans are living in financial insecurity poses a big risk to the economy as a whole.
There's a reason why we measure and monitor very closely things like consumer confidence or consumer sentiment, because what populates those data points are everyday measurements like inflation and the strength of the job market.
I think COVID really showed us that households, when they don't have a level of stability and security, are actually the primary foundation of whether the economy can be strong or not, because we are so based on consumer spending in this country.
Public policy can greatly improve Americans' chances of achieving financial security.
So, for example, Social Security is the bedrock of most people's financial security in retirement. It's not the only source of their retirement income, but it keeps a lot of older people out of poverty. And we know that Social Security needs some reforms in order to maintain the same level of benefits. And then also anything we can do to make sure that employers are offering any kind of retirement savings opportunities, emergency savings opportunities at work, offering employees the ability to enroll in benefits, whether that's health insurance or insurance for life insurance or disability insurance. You know, employers are a key part of this too, and public policies play a big role in terms of what employers can offer and at what price they can afford it.
The household's willingness to work toward financial security is also important.
Ultimately, the answer here is that solutions have to be arrived at the macro level, as well as the household level. And so at some level, we all need to try to own our own financial success by managing our money as well as we can across the range of areas like emergency savings and retirement.
Financial advisors say the first step is to have a clear goal.
What do you want to achieve personally? What do you want to achieve at work? When do you want to retire? What do you want to do for others? And write that down.
But the key to success comes down to budgeting.
Everyone should budget. What we say is it's not what you earn, it's what you keep. And so think about and have some transparency of where is your money going. And then make sure the budget that you have aligns with the goals that you wrote down. If you say you want to retire early, are you saving more to retire early? If you want to put your children through college, if you want to be debt-free, are you paying more on your student loans? Are you paying more on your credit cards so you can be debt-free? Make sure that your budget aligns with your goals.
There are actually millions of people struggling. It's not something that people want to talk about, but if you're in a place where your financial security feels super precarious, you're not alone. And it's not your fault.
Many people who have really high incomes and a lot of savings still feel financially anxious. So don't feel like this is your fault or something to do with the fact that your income isn't enough. You know, we all have to deal with this in different ways. And the most important thing you can do is just acknowledge that and deal with it and not try to avoid it.
Yo, pretty interesting look at like what's going on right now. And, you know, maybe if anything out of this, it will reaffirm for some of you that you're not alone if you're out here feeling that pinch, man, because it's a lot. It's a lot. It's over half the country that's feeling it right now. And something needs to change, that's for sure. But one thing I will say that it takes good financial discipline to push through this and be able to work your way through it. You know what I mean? Budgeting, as the woman said, is very, very big. Limiting things that you don't need to spend on that are dumb, like eating out or ordering Grubhub. There was sometimes when I would order that food, I'd get like a hot dog or two or something like that. The hot dogs would be like $10 for two or whatever. And then when I go to check out, the total bill was like $28, maybe close to 30. And I looked and I'm like, oh, why is it? It's $10 hot dogs. Why am I paying almost 25 whatever dollars? Well, it's because there's like another $10 in fees plus this fee, and then you're gonna leave a tip. And then I usually tip pretty good, So when it's all said and done, I'm like, yeah, this is dumb. I'm throwing money away. It's like I better just get my ass up and go get it, or just go cook it. And when I finally got to that point of doing it, you really start to see the money there. You know what I mean? So there are things that you can do right now that will help in all of this, and hopefully give you a little bit of breathing room, because it's tough, man. And hopefully we see something change in the economy for sure.